نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على مبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. تركنا المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. ثم أوصيكم ونفسي العاصية بتقوى الله كما قال الله عز وجل في كتابه العزيز حيث يقول يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم إن زلزلة الساعة شيء عظيم يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى ولكن عذاب الله شديد. ثم أما بعد, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord and Sustainer of creation and the universe. We beseech and implore Him to forgive our missteps and our mistakes and to offer His most salient and blessed salutations upon His last and final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and upon His kin, His companions, and all those who follow His guidance to the last day. He has left for us a clear, pristine path. Its day is as its night in clarity, and all those who waver from it will find nothing but destruction. Wa ba'd. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran the importance of humanity. And the importance of humanity cannot be overstated. Oftentimes we speak about the importance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the importance of the angels, the malaika and the kutub, the books, the revelation. But what we sometimes do not consider adequately enough is that all of these things have been presented to man for the service of man, for the service of humanity. So the Quran was revealed to a man, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And by virtue of this revelation to a man and his embodying of the meanings and principles contained therein of the Quran, we know him to be as khayru khalqillah, that he is the best of creation. And it's by virtue of being a man, being a human being, and the ability to perceive and understand and read. The very first word revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Iqra' Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read, recite, know. Some of them have said Iqra' here with the meaning, secondary meaning to know, in the name of the one who has created you. And in some of the hadith al-Qudsiyya, Inna Allah khalaqa Adama ala suratihi, or ala surat al-Rahman, fi riwayatin ukhra, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Adam, our grandfather, collectively, in the image, his own image, or in the image of Ar-Rahman, one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not make the mistake in thinking that image here is referring to physical form, because Allah is without physical form. But it's referring to something more meaningful and potent than this. The very meanings and principles that define our humanity, the meanings of Rahmah, the meanings of mercy, and of knowledge, and of intent, and of will, and of potency, and of power. These are things that also can apply to the human being. And we know them by the frame of reference that we know here in creation. And we know them to be at their utmost and complete when we talk about them in terms of the divine, in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of these things that have been revealed and shown to man show us that humanity is important. And we cannot overlook the importance of humanity. And we should not be beguiled. We should not be led into this false assumption, as is the modern culture teaches us today, that man is insignificant, that he is a speck in the universe. And if you compare him to the ever-expanding size of the ever-expanding universe, then he is nothing. And that there are billions of stars, billions of miles away from us, that make man this almost completely insignificant creature. That's not the case. Because we don't go by how big something is about its size, quantitatively. It's more of a qualitative issue. Qualitative means man is big, man is significant, because Allah designated him as such. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. and we have ennobled the sons and daughters of Adam. And all of us are sons and daughters of Adam. So that makes us important. That makes us significant. The very choice, right, that Allah chose to create us, out of all the myriad, infinite number of possibilities that Allah could have chosen to create in our place. He could have given the khilafah to the angels. He could have given it to the jinn. He could have given it to the whales in the ocean, or the birds in the trees. But He chose to give this khilafah, this stewardship, this dominion and trust over creation, over the earth. He gave it to humanity, where He said, Azza wa Jal, Surah Al-Baqarah, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I will put upon the earth a khalifa, a steward, someone that I will entrust to carry out the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because at the end of the day, it's about the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says about Himself, لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِ. لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. He has both khalq, creation, He created everything, wal-amr, and He commands to everything. So we need to understand both of these aspects. That we're being created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that very act of creation means we have a purpose here. We have a significance. That's why the believer should never despair of their life. Never despair of anything. Because you are significant even if no one else thinks you're important. If no one else assigns any importance to you, that doesn't matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who assigned importance to you by creating you, by putting you in this earth to begin with, by making you exist. And the very fact that He continues to sustain you, you're still alive today, and maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, and you're still breathing, by no power of your own, by no control of your own, but by the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to the pre-eternal knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by virtue of His kalima, kun fayakun, be and it is, because every single instant of your life is a manifestation, is kun fayakun. We don't believe Allah said kun fayakun once and everything was finished. He is continually saying kun fayakun in a manner that is appropriate with His majesty. So every single infinitesimal amount of time that lapses, that goes by, right, as we inch towards oblivion, as we inch towards the end of days, every single moment in that time is a creation of God, and is a continued recreation of God. So the person that you were 2 seconds ago, and 3 seconds ago, and 10 minutes ago is different than the person you are right now. Because Allah chose for you to continue to stay. And when He chooses for you to continue to stay, that means He's creating you all over again. So there's always accessibility to be something completely different than you are. You always have that chance for redemption. No one is beyond salvation. No one is beyond pardon. No one is beyond forgiveness. And this is the beauty of the human condition, right? We understand and we recognize that there are certain things about us, right, that will lead us astray, that will cause us to cause trouble and fitna and tribulation. And perhaps this is what the angels were referring to. When Allah said to them, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, they said back to Him, أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. You put on the earth someone who will spill blood and sow corruption, وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ, and we are the ones who hymn your praises. The angels, right? They don't have the capacity to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't. They will never disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the angels are asking, why would you put Him the earth? And especially giving Him the stewardship of the earth. Not just putting Him there as one of the rest of the creatures, but rather you're assigning Him this very, very difficult task, this huge, immense responsibility, al-amana, right? The mountains and the rivers and the creation, abaynaha, they rejected it, but man accepted it, this amana. So why would you put in the earth someone who would kill and sow corruption and spill blood? Why would you do that? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say back to them? إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I know that which you do not know. And then the very next verse, He gives an indication what He knows and they don't know. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. So he said, I taught Adam all of the names of things. And then he presented it before the angels. They said, we don't know these names. Subhanak. Glory to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You showed us something we did not consider. We don't know these names. So by virtue of what man can know, what man knows, and what man can do with that knowledge, he is a chosen creature in the universe, in creation. And the angels attested to this. عَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. And not only this, then Allah asked the angels to prostrate before man. Right? اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. All of them prostrated. And this prostration is what we call a prostration of ta'zeem. Sajdat ta'zeem. وَلَيْسَتْ سَجْدَةْ عِبَادَةً. Right? Ta'zeem means you are recognizing and you are aggrandizing and you are acknowledging that which Allah has acknowledged and that which Allah has made great. Not that you are worshipping the object of your prostration. And then when they did that, they all prostrated. Right? Because we said the angels don't have the ability to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, إِلَّا إِبْلِيسِ, except for Iblis? Who is Iblis? كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فِي آيَةٍ أُخْرى. Right? He was from amongst the jinn, in type, in nur, what he was. Which means he does have the ability to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he too was in paradise. And his kind were in paradise before they were sent down to the earth. That's why we're called the thaqalain or thaqalan. The two ones that are heavy and sent down to the earth, man and jinn. But he was like the angels indeed. He was a worshipper of God, thousands of years before he was asked to prostrate before Adam. He was a supplicator. He knew Allah. He called Allah by his names. That was Iblis. Was. Yet, when that faith was tested, when that faith of his was tested, then he was shown to be the phony, the fraud, that he always was. He was always a fraud. He never really believed. He never really was like the angels. But he appeared to be. So he was a phony and he was a fraud and he's a deceiver. And then he became the rejected, al-Rajim, when he refused to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. What did he say in response? Not only did he refuse, but he had an argument. He debated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. I am better than him. I. And it said that the first makhluk, the first created being to say the word I, was Satan. So he saw that he was superior based upon something that wasn't interior to him, not something about what he did, not based about his character, but something exterior. He was a jinn. He's created from fire. Man is created from clay, from the earth. Where he got the idea that fire is superior to clay, we may not know. But that was his belief. That was his argument. And we know that what makes something superior to something else is what Allah designates. Allah created us, in Surah Al-Hujurat, as he mentioned, قَبَائِل وَشُعُوب. He made us into different families and tribes and families of tribes. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. However, the most noble amongst you are the ones who have the most taqwa. The ones who have the most knowledge, fear, recognition, acknowledgement of Allah and the reality about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are the ones who are the most important. Those are the ones who are the most noble. So Allah establishes the criteria for that. Shaitan came up with his own criteria. So the significance of man then is recognizing these things and not being swayed, not being deluded, not being fooled by the exterior of things. Not being fooled by the exterior, by the color of one's skin, or the language that they speak, or what country they come from, or who their parents were. None of those things are important. They're incidental, right? Because they're things that are thrust upon you. It's not who you are. Who you are is how you do. It's what you do. It's how you understand. It's what you learn. It's what you teach. It's what you impart to others in whatever manner that is possible. That's who you are. That is the beauty of this deen. That is the beauty of Islam. That who you can be, who you are, is something that you always have a chance to redeem. Today's sinner could be tomorrow's saint. We are the only religion in the world where the would-be assassin of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is buried next to him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There is no other. I have no knowledge. Not just religion. Any other system. Right? They're never going to bury the person who shot Kennedy, no matter how much he repents, and put him next to Kennedy. JFK. Right? Impossible. No one would even think that. Why would that even be a consideration? Whatever his name was, John, can't remember his name now. The guy who did that. It's not going to happen. However, in our deen, anyone could be redeemed. And Umar did not only go on to be the person he was, but he became one of the most significant and important and closest of the companions. Not only repented, but he became someone who became an exemplar, an example for us to follow. He became a person by his application of justice that even the U.S. Supreme Court recognizes the justice of Umar. Even legal systems throughout the world recognize the justice of Umar. Umar al-Faruq, الذي يفرق بين الحق والباطل. Right? Umar the discerner, the one who can discern between truth and falsehood. That is the beauty of Islam. Human being can be completely different, completely changed. And he was a staunch enemy of the Prophet ﷺ. That night he became Muslim. He was armed with sword. And he was going to Dar al-Arqam, where the Muslims were meeting secretively because they didn't want to be harmed by those of their detractors. And he went there with the intention to kill the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. But yet his heart becomes swayed. He reads something of the Quran. He becomes swayed by the Islam of his sister, Fatima. And then he goes to the Prophet ﷺ, and rather than trying to kill him, he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu annaka Rasulullah. I bear witness that there is no deity or worship except Allah, and that you, Ya Rasulullah, you are the messenger of God. And from there on, even the practice of the Muslims changed because of the power of Umar, because of the belief of Umar. And there are many, many stories like this. Many, many stories like this. Even after the time of the Sahaba. Even after the time of the Sahaba. We are the only civilization where we have been conquered and we have been colonized. And in one instance at least, the conqueror accepted the religion of the conquered, of those that he colonized. I am not aware of anywhere else in history that's ever happened. When the Mongols overran Damascus, and they overran Baghdad, and they occupied those places, how did they leave? What happened to them? Did another Muslim army come and make them leave? Yes, they were defeated at Ain Jalut by the Egyptian army. But were they ever forced to leave Damascus and Iraq and Baghdad? Rather, they became Muslim. They accepted the religion of those people that they conquered. How powerful is a civilization that has the ability to sway the one who came to conquer you and to destroy you? And in fact, there was much physical destruction. They said that there was so much blood spilled in Baghdad when the Mongols entered that the blood was to the knees and that the Euphrates flowed red. But nevertheless, the power of the deen within those human beings that remained was enough to bring those people to the deen. What other religion do you have when the former slaves of those in power, then they become the ones to be in power? Have you heard of another religion that has done that? Another civilization where that came about? But yet the Mamluks, who were the servants and slaves, they were owned by the Ayyubids, Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, who conquered Jerusalem, or reconquered Jerusalem, and then united Egypt and Syria. They had, as was the practice of the time, their own slaves who came from Europe mostly. But after 3 generations of the Ayyubids, then the Mamluks took power. And Mamluk, right, means one who is owned. They were the former slaves, but they were able to rise enough that they too assumed the power. They too were given the mantle of khilafah, of stewardship. So it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter even what language that you speak. But what does matter, if you allow the power of the deen to take hold within you, you can not only change yourself, but you can change humanity. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لكم سائر المسلمين فاستغفروه فإنه تاب ودم كمن لا ذنب له. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidil mursaleen wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. So if we know this about our deen, one may ask, how come we're not doing it right now? We can talk about our predecessors all that we want. We can talk about the people that came before us all that we want. We can use words like golden age of Islam all that we want. But that's their past, not our past. We live right now for the present, right? We have a task before us right now. So what is it about us that we are not doing or that we are doing where we have not fully taken advantage, we have not fully realized the power of the deen within us? And I would direct us at least to think about the first 3 or 4 verses of Surah Al-Rahman for some indication of what we need to be doing and how we need to go about doing it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Qur'an, Khalaqa al-Insan, Allamahu al-Bayan. Ash-Shamsu wal-Qamar bi-Husban. But look at those first 4. Ar-Rahman. One word verse, right, according to some of them. One word verse. Huwa Ar-Rahman. Right? He is the one who is most merciful. So all of this, all of the recognition has to come back to Allah's mercy. Then what? Allama al-Qur'an. He taught the Qur'an. Doesn't mention to whom, right? Because the verb allama means you have to have maf'ul awwal within. So it doesn't say taught what to whom, right? It just says it taught the Qur'an, but to whom? Who is a receiver of that? So the teaching of the Qur'an takes precedence, comes first, at least in the order of the verses, before خلق الإنسان, right? Then created the human being, al-insan. Then what? علمه البيان, right? What is bayan? He taught him how to spread that knowledge, spread that message. So we need to be doing 3 things, 3 main agendas, if you will. We need to know, right? We need to know who we are, number 1. Number 2, we need to be who we are, right? We need to embody that knowledge. And number 3, we need to show others who we are. If we're doing it according to a manhaj al-Qur'an, to the method of the Qur'an, we will not go astray. And if we do it according to the well-known, time-bound, and perennial manner and method of expressing these ideas, we will not go astray. We have a route, we have a system of how we take knowledge, of how we learn knowledge, of how we produce knowledge. But we haven't been availing ourselves of this. We need to know the things around us, right? We need to read the 2 books, Kitabullah al-Mastur, the book within the lines, and we need to read Kitabullah al-Manzur, the book that of creation. We have to understand both very well. We have to be very well immersed in both. We cannot be ignorant. We cannot be ignorant of creation. We cannot be ignorant of those around us, right? And then claim to have knowledge of the Qur'an. Nor can we claim to be well acquainted of everything around us and know how everything works without referring to the knowledge of the Qur'an. When you combine and partner both, right? And Allah asks us to do that within the Qur'an itself, right? Asks us to look to the horizons and to within ourselves for signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to grow more certain in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we need to embody that knowledge, right? It's not enough just to know. It's not an exam that we take, but we need to embody it, we need to be it, right? Some of them have referred to this as tazkiyah, as ilm al-suluk, right? The science of purification, the science of character building. Many people are not aware that we have a very well-preserved tradition that is 1,000 years old at least, of how we build character within ourselves. There's a way, there's a system to do it, right? Yes, we pray, we fast, we do charity, zakat, but there's a way even that is more precise and more formalistic than this, of how we can go about doing it. But we haven't availed ourselves of doing that. And then when we become who we want to be, based upon what we know to be right, then we need to show others. This is called al-bayan, or tawsil, right? Reaching others. How is it that Islam spread to as far as the Malay archipelago and as far as Siberia, and not a single drop of blood was spilt in those places? Don't believe the propaganda that Islam was spread by the sword. Very few places that Muslim armies enter most of us, from the backgrounds where we came from, if you're from anywhere in East Africa, if you're anywhere from the Malaysian archipelago, if you're from most places in India, then the sword didn't come to your country. Your ancestors became Muslim, not by the sword, but by the da'wah, by the bayan, by the tawseed. You don't think it's that many people. There were a few people who went to the coastal areas of India, who went to Indonesia and Malaysia, to Thailand, and who went to Kenya and Uganda and Mozambique and Madagascar and these places, and they lived the deen. They intermarried with the people there. They became staples of the community. And this happened over a matter of centuries until society was built based upon those perennial Islamic principles, right? They had a long vision, right? And not only this, they loved the people that they went to. They always wanted the best for them. They didn't have an agenda of taking control, of taking power, of assuming control from the top. They worked from the ground up. They were shopkeepers, they were farmers, they were tradesmen, they were merchants. That was most of the occupations that they did. But yet, via this, what we call, let's call it soft da'wah, right? The da'wah of character, the da'wah of being who you're supposed to be. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, came into Islam as a result. And so for us, we have to think about how we can do that, how we can implement this. Right now, tomorrow will be the beginning of the most beloved and blessed days of the whole year. The 9 and 10 days of the Hijjah, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that there is not days more beloved fi salih al-a'mal, in terms of good works, than al-ashr, than the 10 days of the Hijjah. So this is an opportunity for renewal. This is an opportunity for redemption. This is an opportunity to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these blessed days that are mentioned in Surah Al-Hajj as Ayyam Ma'lumat, as the well-known days, right? Our fellow Muslims, many of them have gone to the Hajj and are ready to perform the manasik al-Hajj, the rites of Hajj. And they are supplicating for us and for them. We too should be doing the same. We too should be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We too should be spending significant amount of time and thinking about the great responsibility and opportunity that has been placed before us wherever we are. Yes, we may see problems. Yes, it seems like people don't like Muslims. Yes, we have this phenomenon called Islamophobia. But are we just going to live the victim? Are we just going to live the idea that we're always defending ourselves? When will be the time when we actually show people who we really are, rather than just defending? We need to be more integrated into our communities. We need to be those who are seen as people of good. We need to try to make sure that every single interaction that we have with any other human being, whoever it may be, even a stranger, that they leave that interaction in a better state than they came with. Just think about that. If we lived our life like that, every single being I come into interaction with, I want them to come away from me in a better state than when they came to me. And we apply that principle across the board for every single one of us. For people we interact with in the street, in the restaurant, at work, at school, on the road, driving, if we thought like this. These are the meanings the Prophet ﷺ came with. That's how they lived their lives. They wanted to make sure everyone had a better interaction than they came with. Put them in a better state. We should not be people of revenge. We should not be people of retribution. We should not be people who mu'amalat al-mithl bil-mithl, right? Someone does bad to us, we do bad back to them, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسِكُمْ عَلَى الْإِحْسَانِ. You know, establish within yourself ihsan, right? And don't say like some people, in ahsanu ahsanna, when asa'u asa'na. Don't say like some people, if they're good to us, we'll be good to them. And if they're bad to us, we'll be bad to them. But rather be the one who says, if they are bad to us, we will not wrong them. We will not wrong them. We don't wrong anybody. We only treat people with ihsan. Sometimes that will be justice. Sometimes that will be enacting, taking our rights, but it will never be about wrongdoing. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقنا جميعا لطاعته صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم اجرنا من النار ومن خزي النار ومن العمل وقربنا إلى النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار. يا عزيز يا غفار وارفعنا تجاوز ما تعلم إنك أنت الأكرم. وبارك لنا في هذه الأيام المعلومات المباركات العشر ذي الحجة. واجعلنا من عتقاء هذه الأيام المباركات، وتقبل منا صيامنا، وتقبل منا حجنا وعمرتنا وصلواتنا وزكواتنا وذكرنا، وانصرنا ولا تنصر علينا، وأيدنا ولا تفضحنا برحمتك ومنك وفضلك وجودك يا رحمن يا كريم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد، عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. وأقم الصلاة.